see here. I think the most important thing to start with at any training is we need to know where the information in the training is coming from. I don't give opinions. I don't give my opinions. And these are the reasons why. First and foremost, before Train TN came along, I was having to submit all the trainings I did with you guys to licensing, and it wasn't just a licensing coordinator. It was Janae and like the main bosses, right? Well, they spent weeks checking them. You know, I'd have to submit them a week or two early. And what they do is they go down through there and they make sure that what I'm giving you guys is stuff that has been proven and not just my opinion. So if I give you my opinion, it won't count as licensing training, right? So now with Train TN, I had to go through this month-long process to get approved to give trainings that count for credit. So that's the main reason. Other reason is I only have 30 credit hours at a university for early childhood. I have about 13 years of experience as a trainer or coordinator. That's nothing compared to what these folks out there that I'm bringing you their information have. My knowledge is very minimal in comparison, and it's really just based on what I've learned in my life, and whereas their stuff, it's research. So they're looking at, you know, thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of children and how these children respond best, have better behavior, have better learning goals. Whereas my stuff is, well, this worked for my kid, you know, so that's another reason why I always make sure that the sources I use are either out of a university or they're independent trainers who do their own real research or use university research. It's just a lot easier to do that because I know for sure that it's valid information. And my phone is going crazy right now. So I don't have to be distracted. If there's something that anybody needs to tell me, just call me right fast. Can y'all hear my background? Okay, I'm just gonna do this, guys. I'm gonna put the phone down, all right? Right, so that's why also my goal in life for 20 years has not been to have the best job or to have more, you know, the maximum amount of money. It's been to help kids out and to make sure that in these 0 to 5 years that children are getting all we can give them. So that way we have a better future. I know 0 to 5, honestly, beyond 0 to 5, I'm lost. So, you know, that's why you won't see a lot of stuff on adolescence and things like that from me. And even though my opinions do differ at times from what I find in research, I just have to keep remembering it's just my opinion and it's just based upon my very limited small Kingston world, right? And stuff I've gathered through my life and not a ton of people. So these are who we're using today. This guy, Michael Gramling, he's a human development specialist. He's out of Eastern Kentucky University. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen trainings from Eastern Kentucky, but they're a leader in early childhood. Well, about 15 years ago, I got to do a training with Michael. And that training had such an influence, probably is what has kept me in early childhood. He was unbelievably inspiring. Everything that he threw out there, he backed up, and he's the real deal. I am still 15 years later. I have his book. I mean, right on my desk. I use it all the time, and it is torn and tattered and pitiful, but I use it. There'll be some class mixed up in here. It's Michael's stuff and then some class stuff in between. Class is backed by a book full of research. It's huge. And I've got it here too. The pyramid model. This used to be CEFL, if you remember that, CSEFEL. It changed to the pyramid model, and this comes out of Vanderbilt University. Conscious discipline, we'll be seeing some of that in this training by Becky Bailey. She's a leading researcher in behavior management, probably the top. There's going to be some stuff from Tim, the trainer. I think one slide. He's a certified conscious discipline trainer. He follows Becky, so that's super cool. And then the National Center for Biotechnology Information. And I don't even need to say, right? Because that sounds pretty impressive. It's out of the government. There'll also be some independent research throughout, and I did cite it. But the thing to remember in that is anytime I do that, I make sure it's somebody out of a university. I use Harvard a lot. They do a whole lot of stuff for the developing child. So we did a big thing from August to September on emotional support, and I never really got to talk to any of you guys about that. The class observations have kind of went away, and I do want though to tell you guys while you're here what it looked like. We had a lot of people who did really great on it, most. And I just want to tell you, you could see the attachment with the children in almost every classroom. The attachment was very apparent. You were very aware and responsive to what was going on in the classroom. And then this is what I feel like we could reflect on more, which is why we're doing this training. And that's using positive guidance rather than the negative stuff, reinforcement, negative reinforcement. Your tones, you know, talking to the children with better tones, giving students responsibility, incorporating their ideas, letting them take responsibility for their own actions. So that way, you know, that's the beginning of everything for them. We got to let them take that responsibility, and we're going to go over that in this training. I don't know why it's doing this, but it did it earlier. We're going to start with some reflections. And as I mentioned earlier, just if you want to share, unmute yourself and share. If you don't have to. So if you have a sheet of paper or a pen nearby, or your cell phone, you can type it in. I'm going to do it along with you guys. Let me get my little pen. Now, this is only for us unless you want to share, so feel comfortable being completely open. Try to throw out any of the trainings I've presented, any of those preconceived notions that you've carried along the way, those set beliefs that you have. So with this, like me, I don't remember my early childhood experiences. I know where I went, but that's all I really remember from it. So in that case, if you're not able to go back and reflect on your own, think about your child or your grandchild, early childhood experience, you know, their teachers. Yeah, there we go. So these are basically the same. We're going to go back to our early childhood or our children or grandchildren's early childhood. I want you to write down negative memories that you have, not all of them, but just a couple of negative things you remember that you consider negative. Then I want you to follow that with a positive thing or two, okay? I want you to think about if you could go back and change your teacher, what would you change about her? Or your child's or grandchild's teacher? And then I wanted you to think about what would you thank your teacher for? So what would you change and what would you thank her for? Just take 3 or 4 minutes and do that. I'm going to leave this up And this is the same thing, just based upon a child or a grandchild rather than yourself. All right, I'm going to do it with you guys. All right. If anybody wants to share, unmute yourself and share. Okay, okay. Okay, I get it. We'll zoom through this Zoom. So mine is, I'm reflecting on Miss Kennedy. She went to my sister-in-law, ex-sister-in-law's childcare center up in Knoxville, Little Bugs Learning Leaf. That's my main thing I remember from sending my kids through early childhood and education. And now Kennedy went here too for a bit, and Miss K's, and Lord of mercy, I had my kids everywhere, but Little Bugs was free because it was Robbie's sister. The negative thing I remember is she was 4 or 5, and they would make her stay on her cot for 2 hours awake, and she wasn't allowed to do anything. And that was so. What's funny is that she would actually, to work through that, because it was hard on, it's hard on a 4-year-old to lay on a cot for 2 hours wide awake and do nothing. And she would come home and she would like put all of her babies on little towels, and she would go around and like hit their butts real hard and be like, you go to sleep now. And that's the way, kids work through stuff with play, but it was pretty cute. Eventually, after about a month of that, she got to bring a little nap activity bag. That was my only negative, really. My positive was just there was secure attachment. She was safe, and they got her ready for kindergarten at pre-K. So I would go back and thank her for that, and then say, please don't make her lay on a cot for 2 hours. All right, nobody else sharing? Okay, let's go then. So the purpose of that exercise, do the things that you would change or think about your experiences. Reflect what you have learned in these monthly trainings, in any college class you've taken for early childhood, TEPTA, and in the trainings that you've done in other places like Pro Solutions. Do the things that you value and not value reflect what you have learned through credible sources? So, and the point is if the things you would change about yours or your child's experiences do not reflect what you've been learning, think about what are the reasons that you do not want to change these things. And also, we talked about something in our brain development training way back. It was our first training. where we talked about how looking at AIDS, okay, AIDS in the 70s, you died. But then research has come so far that now you can live a lifetime. Same thing with cancer. The improvements are vast. So when we're thinking about early childhood education research, the way children learn, the way children are best redirected, is it better to punish them, to reward them, or to redirect them? All those things are out there. They've been doing research on that just as much as they have with cancer and AIDS and medicine. So what would stop us from following everything that they've done? And the cool thing is all of that is free to us. All we gotta do is go on the internet and boom, we know all of it. So that was the point of that exercise. All right, let's put it to practice. You're just going to write down A or B whenever I read these off. We're going to go back to not your childhood, but just reflect on reading your child or your grandchild a book at home. All right. And this has a purpose. This all leads to what research is telling us about story time, about reading. Would you A, sit in the recliner and hold the child in your lap? Or would you B, sit in the recliner and instruct the child to sit on the floor about 10 feet away? I got a chat. 2 chats. Oh, well, cool. Would you, where was I? See, I get so distracted. It's my ADHD. Would you A, read to the child one-on-one? Or B, invite a dozen of the neighborhood children over? Just notate A or B. Next, A, encourage the child to point to the items of interest in the book, or B, from 10 feet away, show the child the picture. It all has a point, I promise. A, encourage the child to talk about the story, or B, tell the child you cannot read if he continues to interrupt with questions. If the child loses interest and wanders off to play elsewhere, do you A, close the book and go about your business, or B, insist that the child remain seated until story's over? If your child asks to hear the story again, do you A, read it again, or B, tell the child that you will read it again tomorrow? So you look at your responses, A through B. Wait, I think I've got this messed up. So are you A, at home, and B, at school? If your answers are mostly A, but you're B at school, what are the reasons for that? And I know we're thinking, hey man, large group time, we can't do that. Ooh, dude, we went from 32 to 20. But we're not talking about large group. So we've found through research, small group or a one-child reading prove many more gains in literacy. So having a huge, large group and reading a book is counterproductive to helping this child along in literacy. A lot of the times you end up just calling people down. A lot of the times, Do adult teachers prepare a 6-month-old for a 2-year-old classroom by making him eat solid foods, drink whole milk, and sit at the table with a spoon? We don't do that because we know a 6-month-old can't sit up like that, and they don't have those fine motor skills to feed themselves with a spoon or a fork. So sometimes we see teachers, parents preparing children for public school at like age 3. But just like that infant, that 3 to 4-year-old is not ready to sit for a long period of time and learn school, work design for 5 and 6-year-olds, 6 and 7-year-olds. But it's easy to do, and this is why. Adults look at a 3 to 5-year-old physically, and you look at a 3-year-old compared to a 5-year-old, and you see so many similar features, but the brain is completely different between a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, just like between a 6-month-old and a 2-year-old. The difference is physically, we see that change from a baby to a toddler. It's hard to see that change physically from 3 to 5, and we're visual people. So that's just why we have to learn about their brains to get to them. So I'm trying to develop his attention span, you say, and that's why we're doing these large groups and sitting them, and you're going to sit here and you're going to listen to my story. Think about an adult conference. If you're sitting there in your conference, your children, do you wonder when you're sitting in this conference? Children wonder too, but they wonder with their feet because their brain isn't developed enough to plan to leave mentally. They can't go into their brains and go off in their mind, get through their boredom, and then come back. Their feet is what wanders, if that makes sense. Telling a 3 to 4-year-old to sit still doesn't work, because when you're, as an adult, telling them, be still, sit down, don't move, their bodies are saying, stretch, run, stand on your head, because that is what they're mastering at the moment. Their bodies are growing. It's physical development. So their brain and their bodies are saying, move, while we are saying, be still, be still, be still. And that is why it's critical to know development. So right before we get into this misbehavior stuff, let's think about what is a misbehavior. And you should always ask yourself, is this a reasonable thing that I would ask an adult to do? So say we're having a meeting on the rug. Would you ask, if you're going to ask this child to sit on the rug for 30 minutes, is that something you would ask an adult to do? But before you answer that question, remember, an adult does have control of their impulses as long as everything went okay. An adult has the ability to learn through memorization. They have the ability to talk with you rationally and say, hey man, I need to stretch my legs, they're cramping up. But a child's brain, it doesn't work like that. They don't go into brain mode and say, hey, Miss Joe, can I stretch my legs out for a minute? They just immediately do it. They're physical. We all know that. Children are movement. Adults are brain. An adult has the ability to reason. And I think the number 2 question you can always ask yourself to try to figure out, is it a misbehavior or not? Does it affect the child's, the teacher's, or other children's health or safety? When you really think about that, that covers almost everything. Try not to spend circle time calling down the ones who are not ready to listen, because you're giving them all the attention. Instead, give attention to the ones who are ready to listen. I think a lot of times, and this actually doesn't happen in many classes, but every now and then, as a whole, in childcare through Tennessee, you see teachers spending so much time focusing on the children who are doing behaviors that we don't want them to do. And those kids that are sitting there ready to learn and hearing the story, and they're so excited, and they get nothing. And the book gets interrupted a whole bunch because of those kids who are trying to steal your attention. And a lot of times they do. If it is a disruption at your circle time, ask another teacher to handle it, your teacher assistant. Or if you're alone, hey, Joe. I don't know why I keep saying Joe when I'm talking about misbehaviors. And sometimes I ask myself, oh, I'm not going to say that child's name, but you Kingston folks might know. He's my family. So anyway, Joe, it seems like you need extra help. I do too. Can you come help me? And let Joe come up there with you so you can help him make good choices. Don't forget, negative attention is attention. There's some children out there, we know them, that only get negative attention. They don't get it. They don't know how to get positive attention. Some of them don't even know it's a thing. So it's up to us to teach them what positive attention is. All right, let's look at punishment and rewards. What is the goal of a punishment and a reward? And this is punishment and reward is a method of behavior management. So let's look at this form of behavior management. It controls behavior and it secures obedience. If you don't stop this, then this is going to happen. Or if you do this, then I will give you this. It's to control what they're doing. Scolding them, spanking, embarrassing, loss of privilege, rewards with money, treats. You get to go swimming at the pool if you da-da-da. The disadvantages of punishment and reward is they behave well only when a reward is coming or to keep from getting spanked. It does not have them take responsibility for their actions, and it blames other people for their problems. The child starts to blame other people for their problems. And remember, all of this is backed by research on the disadvantages. This is what they're seeing when they follow children who have had punishment and reward systems in these institutions. These adults are looking like, you'll get to see all that soon. This is what the adults are starting to look like. So the disadvantages of punish and reward. Let's think about this. A teacher trained her children to sit, be quiet, and stay still through punishment and reward systems. They know if they don't, the teacher's going to have a negative reaction. What happens when the teacher leaves? Have they learned the benefits of good behavior? Or are they just doing it for the teacher? When a substitute comes in, what's that classroom like? It's not really that big of a deal for a preschooler who blames his, I ran and fell and it's the rug's fault. But this is what they found. When they become adults and there's no authority figure to make them be good, then behavior is not valued. Behavior is not valuable in and of itself. Its only value is in the reward it can earn. They see, you guys have seen adults, right? We all know them. Their behavior is wonderful on social media, and when they are around groups, they're the best ever. And then behind closed doors or with the people that they can be themselves around, the behavior is not good. And that is a direct result of living a life of punishment and reward and never learning the value of good behavior, if that makes sense. I've tried to put his words in my words the best I can, and I'm definitely not doing it like he could. But if you do continue with rewarding and punishing, what you have to remember are these tips that make it okay, Just remember the difference between a threat and reality. So saying to your kids, if you do not straighten up, I'm not going to take you outside today. That will be a threat because we have to go outside every day per requirement. So rather than saying, if you don't do this, we're not going outside, you would say, the sooner we finish our worksheets, the sooner we get to go outside. That's reality. You ask yourself, are they able to reach the goal that you're going to reward? So if the children are pretty much at the same level, and I have seen that happen in one class recently, where all the children are capable of about doing the same things, crazy rare. But if they're all about at the same level, and if you can go on to 10Ls and see that they should be able to do this goal, then giving them a star, there's no harm in it. You know, it doesn't affect that self-esteem. But if you do have one child who is developmentally not able to do the lesson that you're doing, then leave the stars out of it. So that way, you know, think about a child, you ask them to tie a shoe at age 2. And if you can tie this shoe, all of them, you know, this class, I got a class 2-year-olds. If y'all all tie your shoe, I'm going to give you a sticker. That wouldn't be fair. But asking all 4 and 5-year-olds to make all the shapes, circle and square, line, a pre-K room, that is fair. Make sure that children are aware of your expectations. So you don't say, if you will be good, I'll give you all a treat. Rather than that, you have to say specifically, because they need specifics. If you sit at circle for 10 minutes without running off, I'll give you a sticker. So they know exactly what they have to do to get that sticker. Because be good for them is a different thing at grandma's house, a different thing at mama's house, a different thing at school. So be specific. Just keep your word, you know, don't make a threat that you can't follow up with. Because then I don't want to say we become a joke to them, but are they going to trust what we say? We got to make sure they trust what we say. Remember not to say, you're not going to get a sticker. Now, I've done this at home sometimes, and I feel guilty for it, and I got to do better. You're not going to get a sticker if you don't sit a circle. And then the child doesn't sit a circle, but you still give them a sticker. If you're not strong enough to withhold that sticker when the child starts crying or whatever, just don't give out any stickers. They need us to be consistent, follow through, and they need us to be strong. And my kids need that at home too. And so when I say, Britton, if you don't read this book, your PS4's gone all weekend. I got to do it. You know, I'm learning too, because if I take away that PS4 all weekend, he is going to be saying, Mama, take me 4-wheeling. Mama, can so-and-so spend the night? I mean, there's nothing past fine. So it then becomes my problem. So I just need to make sure that when I am saying, Britton, if you don't read that book, that I'm giving him a consequence that I can follow through with. Like, and I've been trying to work on that. Britton, if you do not read that book, I'm fixing to get ahead of myself. If you do not read that book, then something besides taking away the PS4 all weekend, because I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be like, just get on it so I can have 2 hours to work on my training. Whew, Lord, I'm learning a lot. I'm growing with you. So if not punishment and reward, then what? So we got about, it's 10:37. This is getting into the stuff, the core. Okay, so punishment and reward does produce immediate results. It does motivate good behavior when the authority figure is present. Punishment and reward does not build self-esteem, self-control, and decision-making. It doesn't teach those things or foster them. It motivates positive behavior only when that authority figure is present. We already talked about that. So now we're going to look at positive guidance, another form of behavior management. So I've thought it, we've all thought it. Who's really in charge with positive guidance? there's two things that have to happen with positive guidance. You got to let me get to the second thing before we make our decision on whether it's right for us. The two main requirements: children are making their own choices. Okay. A child can't become a good decision maker if there is not a way to have them make their own decisions. But wait, you experts. If I don't use timeout, children are going to run wild. I've said it. If I do not exert my power, there's going to be chaos all over my house. If we allow children to make their own choices, they're going to choose poorly. They're going to not have limits. They're not going to have respect for authority. The second one, the adult always provides choices that are acceptable or appropriate, but the children are still learning to choose appropriately, and they're still learning that they are responsible for their own behavior. It drives me crazy when the kids are like, it's not my fault. It's not my fault. I'm talking about at home. Or even my nephews. Well, that wasn't my fault. The adult is in control in these situations, and she's given reasonable choices, and then the child gets to choose from those choices. So what you get is constructive activity, firm limits, and mutual respect. So sometimes it feels like, oh, I'm always going to have to be nice. I can't ever hurt these kids' feelings. I'm going to have to beg this kid to stop doing bad behavior. So these will be some examples to try to cut that out. I think a lot of the times when people hear positive guidance, they're like, well, that's just for pushovers. But this is what it looks like. There's a child throwing sand at the sandbox, okay? Let's say a little sandbox in the classroom, and he's over there in that sandbox center and he's throwing sand up. This is a health and safety problem, right? And for other children if they're around. So that's when you say, this is positive guidance. This is your warning that it's dangerous to throw sand. And if you throw sand again, you or the sand will be removed. Not meaning like, I'm going to remove you from the class, but I'm going to remove you from the sand, or I will remove the sand, because it's a health and safety. A child who refuses to wash their hands at lunchtime can't do that. You know, it's if we let a kid go eat lunch with hands that have boogers and crap all up. Sorry, I got too informal. This is why I can't sell my trainings. Okay. If we let a child eat like that, they could get hand, foot, mouth. So it's not, we're not protecting their health. So we're going to say it's unhealthy to not wash your hands before you eat. Would you like to sing the ABC song or count to 20 as you wash them? And then walk them over and make them wash it. So it's actually the opposite of letting kids run over you. Child who's running around the room at circle, you can choose to sit at the rug with us or sit at the table with the book. Which choice is best for you? A child who hits the teacher says firmly, no smile, looking in the eye, I do not like it at all when you put your hands on my body without my permission. And tell your 3, 4, and 5-year-olds to say that to the kid that hits them. This is my body. You must have my permission. We're going to teach these kids to stand up to bullies. That's on us. Oh, okay. If you feel frustrated with me, you can choose to tell me with your words, not with your hands. All right, that's what you say to the kid. You can choose to go to the calm down cue. You can choose to sit in cozy or look at books till you can calm down, but I will not let you hit me. All right, advantages and disadvantages of positive guidance. Children become good decision makers. I got to remind you again, guys, this has all been tried and true and written down in stone. They are better decision makers. They take responsibility for their own behavior. They gain self-esteem, and they develop more positive relationships with you. They choose behavior based upon the social outcome rather than I'm going to get punished, so I got to do it. I'm going to get rewarded, so I got to do it. They do it because it's the right thing to do. Results are not always immediate, for sure. You got to be consistent for a while. It requires adult patience, adult involvement, adult thought, and tons of adult energy. So positive guidance uses prevention. That's a huge part of it. Specific preventative techniques, I'm trying to keep from coughing, these are the things you do to before misbehavior occurs. This is what you do to try to keep misbehavior from occurring. You make sure that those kids have adequate space. That an example of that is going to be like baby proofing, but not, you know, the room's unsafe, so I'm gonna make sure the child stays in a high chair. It's not that, it is baby proofing everything so it is safe. A secure and positive climate. That's going to include things like a small group and one-on-one readings are going to outweigh the large groups. A secure and positive climate is looking children in the eye, respecting what they say, letting them know they matter. Another thing is that there are appropriate materials in the classroom to keep them busy and activities. Remove inappropriate items. We do that. So I'm not even going to go there. But this includes leaving out many and varied materials, which we do. But remember never to overstimulate, because too many toys in a 3-year-old's eyes that are not organized are just as bad as not having enough. So like 200 Lincoln Logs in a 3-year-old classroom should instead be about 15 Lincoln Logs. Otherwise, what do? We all know this. They take those Lincoln Logs and they dump them out, 200 of them. They take all those, Lord have mercy, the amount of time a year ago we spent cleaning up down in Rockwood. Just take stuff and throw it to where the whole classroom's just full of flashcards and all of these things, and just put those up. If it's a teacher tool, put them up so they can't throw them. Just remember, too many materials is just as bad. Another technique is that you have consistent routines and consistent discipline. Every day after playtime is cleanup time. Just like at home, after I brush my teeth, I go to sleep every single time. So it becomes part of that routine and they just do it. On the consistent discipline, are you always stopping the behavior and replacing it? Can they get away with it one day, but they can't get away with it the next day? They're only going to follow the rules if they're consistently enforced every time, and if consequences are the same every time. Looking at this, it reminds me of me at my house. Child, brush your teeth. Then 30 minutes later, I've got 5 minutes until the Bachelorette starts. Hey, did you brush your teeth? No, not yet. Well, you better make sure you brush them in the morning. I've done it. I'm trying to change it. It's just an example of how we, oh gosh, we just got to be like, okay, I'm going to miss the first 5 minutes and insist that they brush their teeth. A lot of you guys might have this down pat. I'm still learning to be strong. The child learns at this time, mom's not in charge. All right. The cool part about this is that even though we think that the child will be happy about this, A child does not want to be in charge. They want you to be in charge. He wants you to make sure he brushes his teeth. And he's not going to let you know that, but that's what he needs. Oh, Lord. My internet connection is unstable. Let me know if something goes bad. Clear expectations and rules are another preventative technique. There are lots of rules kids have to follow, and there are lots of places, right? We got grandma's house has rules, mama's have rules, school has rules, the bus has rules. That's why home to school board is great, because you can say, hey man, remember you're at school. We can't say bad words here at school. Because it's okay. Sometimes, when they say they drop a bad word at home, their parents laugh, and think it's cute. So then they come to school and they're like, well, if I say this bad word, my teacher's going to laugh. And the teacher goes, oh my God, you can't say that. And then they're like, stupid teacher. So just remember, we got to tell them, look, man, when you're at school, you can't use those words. That's our school rule. Repetition matters. The more a rule is repeated, the more it's believed is truth. Tone matters. This is a little research that I threw in here. Can't remember which university it's from, but it's Strand, and it's brand new research. As soon as you begin to raise your voice, you activate limbic systems, which is an ancient part of that brain's response to do what? Fight or flight. Run from the tiger or fight the tiger. So the result when you yell, stop, the result could be the opposite of what you're trying to get, because they freeze up or they fight or they run. Try communicating and requesting instead of commanding, and just see if you see a difference. So in summary, to be preventative and try to make those behaviors never come at all, we want to repeat rules every day in a normal, genuine tone with patience. So let's be sure our rules are clear. This is super important, that we're posting rules, not only in words, but pictures, that they're simple rules, easy to understand. Are you going over them before each circle time? Each circle time should begin with 2 to 5 rules that are simple every time, so that way they know. Before each table time, when you're sitting down doing your lesson, are you saying, you are now expected to sit down and give this worksheet your best try before you get up? Let them know you expect them to try. We can't expect them. We can't say unless you're a class where all children are on the same level and you've checked the 10 Ls, we can't say, you guys are going to sit here. If you have to sit here for 45 minutes to finish this math page, that's just not appropriate. They won't be able to do it, a lot of them. But to say, you're going to sit here and give it a try before you get up, they know what you expect of them. Going over the rules before each center time, really dependent on your kids. If your kids don't do well with center time, go over those rules. Of course, at outside time, when they're on the fence, you got to go over those rules. Have them say the rules too, because if they're hearing it and voicing it, it's going to stick better. Are you consistent? Do you expect the same thing every time? We've already talked about that. To every kid in the class. So examples of those simple rules, which y'all really know, but this is an example of what is productive for 3 to 5-year-olds. 5-year-olds can take more intense rules. Circle time, We're going to do eyes are looking, ears are listening, helping hands and voices calm. That's straight from Becky Bailey. We're getting there, guys. We're probably going to run until about 11:15, 11:20. Part of the preventative measure is those transitions. You've got to transition your kids. They got to have time to process it. They need warnings. Think about as an adult, okay? You're working on a paper for school or for your CDA notebook, which we're going to say is equivalent to a child start building a block tower, okay? This paper is important to you. Your boss walks in, teacher, says, get up now. It's time to do bathroom time. And you say, let me finish this paragraph. And she says, no, put it up. It's bathroom time. Doesn't give you a chance to save it. Makes you go right then. You've been working on this paper, block structure all morning, and now it's knocked over and cleaned up. What kind of mood are you in? Let's take away your ability to regulate your emotions. Now, are you ready for physical altercation? So all that's saying is you don't have to let a kid continue to play in blocks when it's bathroom time. But what you need to do is about 10 minutes before bathroom time is coming, you need to blink the lights or give them some kind of indicator. Hey guys, you have 10 more minutes to finish your block structures or art project. 5 minutes later, you need to start wrapping up your projects. And then when it's time, that's when you give a visual cue and say, okay, now the time has come. We are now going to have to pick up our blocks and move on to bathroom. If a kid has built a beautiful block structure and you have another playtime coming up, see if you can maintain some of it and let them continue the work later. That is high quality programs when you leave that structure there so they can come back and finish it. That's good stuff. We're going to watch a couple of these. I don't know what's going on with my phone.
The 3 and the 2.
The 3 and the 2 have the most pictures in it. Porter, which one has the fewest pictures in it? The 1 syllable words. So the 2 and the 3 syllable words we had more of this time. We will have to see if we do it next time which one has more. All right, my friends, thank you. Let's see. If your name has 1 syllable in it, stand up. Knox. Good job. You may get your coat. All right. And take it to your number. You can put it right there. If your name has 2 syllables in it, stand up. Ooh. Porter, Catherine, Asha, Hannah, Isaac. Ooh, you guys are good. Put your chairs in and you may get your coat.
Okay. Give me back. Jeez.
Do your job. Thank you, friends. It is time for us to clean up and put everything away so we can go outside. Louise, freeze, please. Make sure everything is put away in the right place, okay? And then you may get your jackets and come on the red line. Okay, Tyza? Clean up, clean.
I'm trying to respond to chat and I just screw everything up when I do it.
This was bullshit.
Yeah, see, now I'm
Trying to
falling
stick to the
apart,
facts,
guys. Hold on.
Right?
Stop.
I'm only going by what the lady
No.
said. All right? Now.
Oh, Lord. I'm
Start
horrible.
fucking-
Get this out of the way. Some crazy woman. I'm going to get better at this eventually. I swear it. All right. Now I got to go find where I was. I fell apart, y'all. I got so excited. I was going to put a heart on the chat. Didn't work for me, man. Gosh. Okay. Sorry. I won't ever do that again because I just not skilled enough for real. All right, we've already done that. We've done that. And here we are. I'm going to start from current slide. Proactive is preventative. This is the end of the prevention. Is Becky going to talk to us now? No. Do you notice the start of behavior problems before it escalates and gets out of control? That's being proactive. If you know who your sensitive children are and you've noticed what behaviors are occurring right before they have their breakdowns, I do have a great tracking system. You ever want it, come to me and I'll give you a sheet. Do you recognize what's happening before? Well, we've already said that. Have a behavior tracking form. Say, Jen, send it to me and I will. It just shows the behavior, what's happening before and after, and you just track that child so you can figure out what you can do to make this behavior chill so you can teach these kids. Also, another thing is like, I don't see this a lot, but every now and then you'll see it. Make sure when you're engaging with the children, sitting at a table, doing a small group, reading a book, make sure that you're sitting in a place where you can see everybody. Every now and then I can see a back turned. It's rare, but that's always got to be a priority. Your eyes can see it all. All right, this is such a genius woman. Let me see if I can make it bigger. I can't. Here we go. Okay, before I play this whole thing, I'm going to play just a second of it and y'all let me know if she's grainy and you can't hear her.
Welcome to Conscious Clips in Our Time Together.
Is her voice clear? Somebody unmute, because if I click on chat, I'm going to get lost again.
Yeah, you're good.
Sweet.
Today we're going to talk about temper tantrums. Now there's a number of reasons children have temper tantrums. First, they're very developmentally normal from children up to 3 years of age. And young children at that time, they're going to have a temper tantrum from an urgent need that's not met or when they're tired, hungry, bored, or frustrated. Older children over the age of 3 have temper tantrums for different reasons. Generally, they have them because they've been given into, they've had a tantrum earlier in their life and it's worked for them, so they continued that skill as a strategy of getting their way. They have them for unrealistic expectations of parents, inappropriate discipline that's a little bit too punitive or too permissive, and also when they are fatigued, they will do that. And the last one is when they've had too much stress in their life. Those of you who've had children, maybe one or more children, you might say, well, how come one child has more temper tantrums than another? Well, this is based on a number of things. First, it's based on the temperament of the child. Some kids are just born easy temperament. They're easy to regulate, they go to sleep well, they eat well. They're just very easy children. Other children are born with very difficult temperaments. It's hard to soothe them. They're finicky eaters, they're finicky sleepers. When they get upset, they can't calm as easily as other children. And the last one, again, is stressors, inconsistent routines, inappropriate discipline, unrealistic expectations, divorce, childcare, death in the family, depression. All these things will affect the amount number and intensity of tantrums that children will have. So how best can we respond to temper tantrums? The first thing I want you to hear, and I want you to hear it very, very clearly, is there's no right way to do it. Different things will be appropriate for different children. But in general, these are some strategies that will be helpful. The first thing to understand is temper tantrums are a nonverbal communication. We all recognize them. The face is red, they're wailing, the arms are going, they're holding their breath, they're screaming. We recognize a temper tantrum. So what are they trying to say? Generally, they're going to say, I'm overwhelmed, I can't handle this. The second one is, I'm trying a strategy that worked last time, and I'm wondering if it's going to work this time because you gave in last time, so all I got to do is scream and shout long enough, hard enough, and ultimately I'm going to get what I want. So one, it's developmental, I'm overwhelmed, and two, you've taught the child to have these tantrums. So we respond to these almost in similar ways. The first thing to do is to unhook ourselves. So again, we're going to be a star. We're not going to get triggered. We're going to take a deep breath, and we're going to calm ourselves. Sometimes just calming ourselves puts some calming energy around the child. The second thing we're going to do is that we're going to offer empathy, and we're going to start with their body. Your arms are going like this, your face is like this, your body's telling me, I feel so frustrated. So I'm going to say those words again so you can get them. Your arms are going like this, your face is all scrunched up, your body is telling me, I really wanted to watch this, or I am so tired. Whatever your best guess is. And from that situation then, you're going to actually just leave the child alone if that seems what would be best for them, or you're going to pick the child up, put them to your body, and say nothing but breathe at first. And you're going to say, you're safe. You can handle this. I've got you. You're safe. You can handle this. I've got you. Once the temper tantrum is over, whatever the original trigger was, the child does not get out of anything. If they threw a fit about taking their fork to the sink, once the temper tantrum is over, give them a choice. You can carry the fork over in this hand, or you can carry the fork in this hand to the sink, which is best with you. If it was about wearing blue pants as opposed to green pants, once it's over, they're going to put the green pants on. Just give them a choice. Do you want to put them on when sitting on the floor, or would it be easier to stand up and put your pants on? The temper tantrum does not allow a child to get out of doing something. So why not just let the child flump around on the floor like a fish out of water and ignore, quote, the bad behavior? We want to offer empathy, we want to offer breathing, because it's going to help the child learn how to get from the lower centers of their brain to the higher centers of their brain, and we're providing that methodology that, and internalize it in the child that they can use the rest of their life. So here's your homework. When you see a child in a grocery store and it's not even yours, here's what you can practice. Just breathe and wish that child well and that family. Put some calmness into the energy as opposed to, what the heck are they doing? Add your calmness to the situation. If it's your own child, unhook. Do not take it personally. Take some breath. Add some calmness to the chaos with your own energetic being. Say to the child, oh, your hands, your feet are going like this. Your face looks like this. Your body's telling me, I'm just so tired and so hungry. And then depending on the temperament of the child, we're either going to leave them alone, give them some space, or you're going to scoop them up and put them on your chest, relax and say, you're safe, you're safe, I've got you, you can handle this. And
Okay. I love that woman. I wish I could have all of her skill. I'm going to say this right now because we are getting closer to the end of the training. So now that I am inputting information into Train TN rather than making certificates, I have a list of participants, but 34 of you guys, but some of them say iPhone and not your name. So I need you to, please don't do the chat here because I've got to learn more about that. Please text me to your name that you've done this training. And then I got to figure out who the iPhones are. I want to make sure y'all all get credit. Okay. All right. Let's keep on going. So low reactivity. Low reactivity is clutch. Oh no, Becky. We love you. So this is redirection. This is a form of behavior management in the positive guidance category. So we had prevention, now we got redirection. Teaching a child alternatives to hitting is the same as teaching a child to pee in a potty rather than a diaper, to recognize a letter rather than sing the letters. It's just a form of learning. I think, you know, and I'm there too, but it just seems like maybe behaviors set us off so bad that when a child pees on themselves, we expect it, but when a 3-year-old has a tantrum, we don't. I don't know, you know, it's all these things just come to me and I'm like, yeah, dude, I've been looking at that the wrong way. So we're going to tell them, hitting me is not acceptable. This is what you can do instead. Try to get your head to think, rather than thinking he has a behavior problem, let's say he has a lot to learn. I can teach him. Because that's really what it is. They've never been taught. Then they turn into adults and they've never been taught. Whew. Redirection is only offering appropriate choices when students make inappropriate choices. It's just the center of positive guidance. It does require active participation. It's harder for teachers. You got to physically guide the child sometimes. And when I say that, I don't mean pick them up and force them and contain them or whatever. Guide them. Come with me over to wash your hands. Not, you know, I just don't want anyone to think I mean physically hold them down. Okay, you got to redirect repeatedly, right? Kids learn through repeat, repeat, repeat. Telling a child to stop climbing a playground fence over and over is teaching the child what not to do. And that's okay. But we got to also teach them what to do instead. We can also use a method called problem solving. This is my favorite. It is really hard and it takes a lot of time. But I got to throw it out there because it really is the way to change it all. It's just, do you have time and a small, you know, good enough ratios to do it? So, you know, concept development in class has also shown us that this is the way that kids learn, right? They problem solve themselves. They can take ownership, responsibility. So these are the steps to problem solving through misbehavior. You calm yourself. You ask the child basic questions. What is the problem we're dealing with? Then you listen to them. You let them take turns and tell you, this is what I think the problem is. This is what he thinks the problem is. You brainstorm it together and let them come up with the solution. That's how to really teach a child behavior management. But again, it can be really hard to do with one teacher and 13 kids. Positive guidance using choices. This is, you know, the same thing. It's just, this is the way he has it laid out. A child is, you know, knocking materials off the shelf. We can now problem solve this with a calm tone. You seem angry. It's okay to be angry as long as everybody's safe and healthy. You want me to help you? Wait, sorry, I said that wrong. Do you want to tell me what's making you upset so we can solve it? Teach what calms and offer, teach what, sorry. Oh yeah, you got to teach them what'll calm them down, offer them a choice. You can be a pretzel, a balloon. Which do you want to be? You cannot be the kid who throws toys, but you can choose one of these. Sometimes kids at home have never been able to make a choice in their life. So you might find that offering them simple things like that, they're like, oh my gosh, I got some power. Heck yeah, I'm going to be a balloon. Hitting and kicking. Do not hit me or kick me. Tell me how you feel. Don't use your hands, use your words. It's okay to be frustrated at me. That's okay. But you got to tell me with your words and not your body. Sometimes they're doing it because they need to get out some physical energy. You know, they had a really bad, strange morning with parents, and Lord knows what happened. And now you've done something to set them off, and they just might need to scream or like beat on some Play-Doh. Biting your friend's skin hurts them, but you can bite your teething necklace or ring. Knocking toys off the shelf. That's hurtful when you knock our toys off the shelf. You can put our toys back where they belong now so they are safe, or I can help you put the toys back. I meant to turn that into a choice and I didn't. Says a bad word. That word is against the rules of school, but you can say, oh man, when you are sad. Sometimes cursing's allowed at the home, like we talked about, and parents think it's real cute. So they're like, okay, well, let me make my teacher laugh. Make a plan for common misbehaviors. This is only you sitting down and saying, when this behavior occurs, you know, a child in the class takes a toy that Joe is playing with. When that happens, Joe's going to hit, kick, and pinch. The other kids are going to run. You make a plan of behaviors you have every day. You come up with how to prevent it, a skill to teach Joe. Joe, say, my turn. Can I play? Get that child to say, that hurts me. Stop when he hits him. So this is just you guys being proactive. Take a screenshot of it. It's a great little chart. But when the child continues to test those limits without anger or without voice, tell them firmly. When the redirection doesn't work, the child needs to be reminded they're valued. You know, you're not mad at them. You don't hate them, because sometimes that's what they think. If firm doesn't work, that's when you say, buddy, you're going to need my help, and you help him. All right, this is the last and maybe best part of the training. Natural and logical consequences are also a form of behavior guidance. They're my favorite. What happens? What should happen if I break a rule? Natural consequences are what happens to anybody as a direct result of their behavior. It's a beautiful thing. Running indoors, we fall. Refusing to eat breakfast, we're hungry. Ignoring teachers' instructions to wear a coat outside, we're cold. Leaving toys scattered on the floor, we can't find toys anymore, or we fall. A teacher's role in natural consequences is verbally saying, this is the outcome because you didn't wear your coat. Not, I told you so. But because you didn't wear your coat, you're cold. I'm sorry you fell while you're running. I'm sure that hurts. Next time, can you remember to walk rather than I told you not to run? It's word manipulation. It's what it is. And it's great. Logical consequences are a little more let's just stick with logical consequences. Natural consequences are great, but sometimes they're unsafe. This would be an example. Logical consequences are not punishment, because punishment usually has no relation to the behavior. So if a child is not picking up toys after playtime, and that natural consequence would be the toys get broken and stepped on, or you put all the toys up and they can't play with those toys that were left out anymore until the next day. I'm so sorry, I got that wrong. Not picking up toys after playtime, the natural consequence would be the toys get broken. The logical consequence is, if you don't pick up your toys, then I'm going to have to pick them up so no one gets hurt. If I pick them up, then I will put them away in a closet where you can't play with them, so I don't have to pick them up again. That's logical. Throwing sand, a natural consequence is a child gets sand in his eye. A logical consequence would be, I know you love to play in the sand. Throwing sand is dangerous and hurts. You can play in the sand later when you show me that you can remember not to throw sand. Sand goes away, or a child goes away from the sand. Comparing discipline methods. Let's look at them all together. A parent has baby-proofed her home, but one day when she is busy cooking supper, the 18-month-old confiscates the remote and is really enjoying the cause and effect of the volume. The punishing parent slap the hand, no, and walks back to cooking supper, takes the remote away. The rewarding parent, if you give mommy the remote, I'm going to give you a cookie. The permissive one, no rules, begs child to give it back. Please just give me the remote, and ignore, or just ignores the volume and just keeps cooking and lets him do whatever he wants. The redirecting parent or teacher would get the remote and say, that is my remote for adults only. Come play with pots and pans, or push the buttons on your leap pad, right? That's mine. The remote's gone. She does not let it keep the remote. Let us predict that that child, it doesn't work. All right. So it starts screaming and blah, blah, blah. A healthy response after that would be, I'm sorry, this remote is not a choice. It's mine. She kindly but firmly removes it. He continues to cry. She gives him a kiss on the forehead and continues about her business. When he calms down, she reminds him, the remote is a grown-up toy. You may use your leap pad button. That would be a great example of positive guidance. So the child gets to learn, you cannot always get what you want, and I am valued. Best of both worlds. Now, of course, he really hasn't learned yet, right? He's going to take the remote and do that 5 more times. She's got to be consistent and do the same thing every time. When everything fails, guys, when you're at the end of your rope and nothing works, don't forget about Becky Bailey. She's big stuff. And I know one of the teachers who done a lot of my Becky Bailey, or not my Becky Bailey trainings, but my conscious discipline playlist. She's like, oh my gosh, I tried it. It works. She said, I didn't think it would work, but oh my gosh, these kids are responding to it so well. I always remember that. I'm glad this is almost over because I can barely talk. I have a free membership still. It's going to expire in February. I'll try to renew it. For conscious discipline. Most of you guys already have my login information. If you're new and you do not have my login information and you need some Becky Bailey conscious discipline in your life before I can ever get to, you know, the trying to get me conscious discipline trained to train y'all. If you need it before then, come to me. I'll give you the information. She's amazing. Also, if you YouTube the pyramid model, there's so many free videos on the old Cephal new pyramid model out of Vanderbilt. Great resource. My CDA girls, you guys can do that for CDA trainings. Can't come for licensing trainings unless it's more official, but it's great CDA training. YouTube the pyramid model. I want to do conscious discipline, like I told you guys. That was one of the first things that me and the creators creators of KKDC talked about, like when I walked in the door. So I'm going to give you a little inspiration, and that's it. Oh, sorry. Doop. There it comes. We're going to watch this video. We're done. Kept you an hour and 24. Please remember, please remember to text me your name, because you might be an iPhone user and I won't be able to put credit into Train 10. Have a great weekend, guys.
This one put away too. Thank you so much, Winnie.
This one's a bad puppy. It's not a bad puppy.
It's not a bad puppy? Oh, goodness. I noticed you guys are bumping them. I remember that our classroom rule says to be safe, which means we use gentle hands. How can we be gentle with our toys? Yeah, be safe, be gentle. That means we may not bump them, but we can build together, or we can drive them. Yeah, but bumping them may not be a safe choice because someone might get hurt. And we want to stay safe, don't we? Oh goodness, he hit it with his toys? How did that make you feel? Sad. Did you tell Daniel that?
I tell him to move your hands.
Oh, but you hurt his hand. What can we say to make him feel better?
Take the blue. No, maybe the flower.
Oh, maybe breathe like the flower? Yeah, but you hurt his hand. What can you say to Nova to help him feel better? Can you say, I'm sorry?
The butterfly.
We'll help him breathe in just a second, but could we say, I'm sorry?
It can do better.
Did you hear him? He said, I'm sorry, and you can do butterfly to feel better. Do you want to do butterfly? Okay, come on. Ready? Deep breath in. Blow it out.
Oh, how cute.
Deep breath in. Blow it out. Do we need to do another time, or are you okay? Okay, do you feel better? Great job solving the problem. And great job using your voice to tell your friend.
That's pretty cool stuff, isn't it? So thanks for coming. This training, I hope it was okay. I know I coughed and drank a lot of Mountain Dew, but let me know if you need any help with anything, guys, and see you on Monday. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you. Come on, little buddy, and for me, and